reprimand Chairman Issa. Donna Edwards is a Democrat from Maryland and a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. And Ryan Grimm is Washington Bureau Chief for the Huffington Post. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. You know, I was watching that yesterday, and when I had on Congressman Cummings, who's such a dignified fellow, who I think really hated to get agitated like that. He never does that. And I said, was this a matter of indignity on your part? And he said, no, he didn't want to play it that way. He thought it was a rejection of the rights of the minority on that committee. But something happened overnight. This became a Black Caucus issue. Tell me about it, how that developed.
Well, it also became an issue for the entirety of the Democratic caucus. I mean, I think what Mr. Cummings was saying and what we feel as members of the Black Caucus is that, in fact, there was dignity displayed, not just to Elijah Cummings, but really to all of us as minorities. And we're governed by a set of rules in the House. And Darrell Issa, this is the last in a long list of ways in which Darrell Issa has demonstrated disrespect for the ranking member and for minority rights on that committee. And when I watched it too, not only was I offended for Mr. Cummings, but I was offended for the House, for the fact that we have to be able to govern ourselves with a set of rules that we all follow. And the complaint that we lodged on the floor today was saying that, in fact, those rules were not followed, and in order to maintain the respect of the institution, that's the reason that we have to deal, and the leadership needs to deal effectively with Mr. Issa.
When you said there was a lack of dignity given to the minority, did you mean capital M or lowercase m? Do you mean ethnically, racially, or do you mean just the members of the Democratic Party in the House?
No, I mean the members of the Democratic Party. I mean, we set out with a set of rules that all of us understand as House members with respect to conduct of these committees. Chairman Issa took to the bench. He had his piece, and then he refused to acknowledge the minority. That is against the rules and practice of the House. And so it's an indignity to the institution and to all of us. And if we can't depend on the rules governing our behavior, then, you know, we're no better than any of these other, you know, emerging governments and democracies that are building themselves. I mean, this is really an indignity to the House and to our minority rules. And one day, the Republicans are going to be in the minority, and when they were, we didn't treat them like that. Where Mr. Cummings, the chairman, as he would be if we were in the majority, Mr. Issa would not have been treated like that. And that is why it's incumbent on Speaker Boehner to really have some respect for the institution to deal with this, because one day they will be in the minority, and I dare say they wouldn't want to be treated like Mr. Cummings was treated just yesterday.
Two questions, Ryan. One is the show trial aspect of this, that there was really a show and tell. Lois Lerner, who's the bureaucrat over there at the IRS, came in, and they knew she was going to go with the Fifth Amendment, but yet he went through 10 sort of opera bouffe, making her repeat over and over again, I'm taking the Fifth, which I thought was theater. But the other question is this comity. And I worked on the Hill, you know, and all those years, and there is a sense, even though there's a lot of fighting up there, a sense that you got to have common rules and respect, or things don't.
Right. And there is a rule on how you adjourn a committee. And you know, this might seem technical to people from the outside, but as you know, it's not. You know, the rule is you need some unanimous consent, or you vote to adjourn a committee. That's how it's done, and that creates consensus that we've brought this committee in together. We're going to disagree during this time here. We're going to adjourn it together, and then we're going to go on and hold our dueling press conferences. He didn't do that. In the middle of Elijah Cummings speaking, he didn't like the direction that the speech was going. I guess he thought he was giving a speech rather than a question.
Well, he was going to give a speech. Let's be fair. He had a point to make.
Certainly, but it's not up to the chairman to.
Why do you think politically he thought it was better for him to put on that scene there of looking like a dictator rather than letting Mr. Cummings make his points? It'll be in the paper the next day, but you can live with it.
Well, his brand at this point is standing up to Democrats. Standing up to the president is the way that he's cast a national figure. You know, he's a huge fundraiser, second biggest fundraiser in the House. He was just in New Hampshire. So he's become a national figure this way. So this is an extension of standing up to Democrats. You know, it strikes me, Congresswoman, that Darrell Issa wanted to be a U.S. Senator, spent a ton of money, I think over $20 million in a fruitless campaign out there, knew he'd never get to be a senator, so decided he's going to be a hotshot House member. He's going to be an investigator, you know, that kind of thing. Make your name through exposing things. The problem is, I've watched this, and I'm open to it. I couldn't find an example of any White House involvement with the IRS mess. There may be a mess over there. There may be a lack of clarity or consistency in figuring out which organizations deserve tax statuses.
but I've never seen anybody in the White House nailed as making a phone call over there even. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think, Chris, you've pointed to the substance here, and this is the reason that it was important, in addition to Mr. Issa having his say, for the ranking member, for Mr. Cummings, to be able to raise exactly those points. I mean, there have been time and time again where Mr. Issa has effectively cut off the participation of the minority because he doesn't want to hear the fact that there's no there in this so-called scandal. And Mr. Cummings was trying to raise that. Look, I think that there not only are there violations of the rules of the House, but there actually may be ethical violations as well. And Mr. Issa needs to be held to account. And if the leadership doesn't do it, then we have to find some way in our process that we allow those issues to be raised.
Last question, Congressman. Will the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, stay on this case and continue to push for his removal as chairman?
Well, I think that we have to. I mean, there has to be an account here. Otherwise, all of the rules are just completely up in the air. What other committee chairman is going to decide that they want to effectively shut down the minority voice? And why does Darrell Issa get to decide how Elijah Cummings uses his time that's legitimately his during these proceedings? This is a really important matter, and it really goes to the heart of how we have minority participation in these proceedings and in the Congress.
Congresswoman Donna Edwards of Maryland, you are always welcome here at Hardball. We love having you on. I mean that. Ryan Grimm, thank you so much. You're the congressman from Staten Island, aren't you?
That's right.
I'm just kidding. Up next.